Hi guys, welcome back to the Property King. For today's episode, we're going to discuss how to compute for the rental yield, okay? So when it comes to property investments, you might have heard or come across the term rental yield. So what is this rental yield? So for today's episode, we're going to dive in further and differentiate between the two types of rental yield. So we have the gross rental yield and the net rental yield. So for the gross rental yield, this is actually the most popular type. And this is what you'll come across or hear from your agents, from developers, what they usually say or promote that, let's say, for example, our property has a 6% rental yield. So normally, they're referring to the gross rental yield, okay? So when you say gross, it's before any expenses. So how do we compute for that? To compute for the gross rental yield, you have to divide the annual rental income by the total acquisition costs or the purchase price. So for the purchase price, you have to include the taxes or the closing costs like the documentary stamp tax, transfer tax, and other closing costs that you paid for when you purchase the property. So for example, your monthly rental is 30,000. That's your monthly rental times 12. So that's 360,000 divided by, let's say, for example, your acquisition cost is 10 million pesos, okay? So you divide 360,000 by 10 million, you'll get, that's about 3.6% gross rental yield. So to compute for the net rental yield, what we need to do is to deduct all of the expenses related to the rental of your property. What are these expenses? So you have your commission for the agent. If you hired a broker or a real estate agent to lease out your unit, then you have to pay for the commission. Usually that's a 1-month commission based on a 1-year contract. So the next expense is the association dues, which you pay monthly. So you need to compute for that on an annual basis as well. Another expense is the real estate property taxes on the property. Also, you have to allocate for your maintenance or renovation costs, if there are any. And finally, the last expense is the insurance on the property, like the fire insurance. So going back to our previous example, let's say it's 10 million property. That's the acquisition cost. And your monthly rental is 30,000. That's 360,000 gross rental income. Now you have to deduct for the expenses. Let's assume the following expenses for this particular example. Let's say it's 36,000 for the association dues, another 30,000 for the 1-month agent's commission, 25,000 for the real estate property taxes that's paid annually. So let's say, for example, there's natural wear and tear for the unit. You have to renovate it. So you allocate 30,000 for that. And of course, the insurance, let's say you pay 10,000 pesos for that. All in all, your total cost would amount to 131,000. You deduct it from 360,000, you will get 229,000. That's your net rental income for the year. Okay? So the 229,000, you divide it by 10 million, you will get 2.29% net rental yield. So let's review. The gross rental yield is 3.6%, while the net rental yield in our example is 2.29%. So when it comes to choosing your investments, especially when you're deciding to invest in property for the purpose of cash flow, you need to check not just the gross rental yield, but also the net rental yield. Please bear in mind, for this example, we did not include the expenses related to mortgage, okay? So we didn't include the interest expense. We didn't include also the mortgage redemption insurance, or what we call the MRI, okay? So the reason why we didn't include it is because we want to talk about it in a future episode that's going to talk about return on investment. So among the 3 metrics, we have the gross rental yield, number 1. Number 2, you have the net rental yield. And last, you have the return on investment. I would say that the ROI is the best metric that we should use when trying to decide which property or condominium or house and lot townhouse we want to invest in, especially for passive income. So if you want to learn about that, watch out for our next episode. So if you like our content today, please press the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. And also, if you have any questions, suggestions for future videos, put it in the comment section down below. Also, if you want to book a free property consultation with me, please feel free to do so through our social media channels and also our email at rk@propertyking.ph. Again, this is RK from Property King. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, let's all grow wealthy together. Goodbye.